Yes, um, we're live on Zoom, and Dave Harvey, our IT person, is going to broadcast this live on YouTube. And for anybody who's watching on YouTube, we can't answer questions in person, but if you send through the chat an email to us, we will, or through the chat screen, we'll answer them at the end of the meeting before we go into executive session.
Thanks, Ray, for that introduction and instruction. The agenda and the associated materials were sent well in advance. Everybody's got them in their custody. The first item is approval of the minutes from the board.
Excuse, are you going to call the meeting to order and take attendance?
I'm calling the meeting to order at 3:11 p.m. And let's take roll call. I can see who's here, but for the record, Kathy Brinkman, Chair of the Commission.
Ray Fowler, Public Defender.
Victor Walton, member.
Steve Gooden, member.
Bill Gallagher, member.
Kathy on. There's Jack Herbert. Yeah, we hear Jack.
Catherine Ancona, Deputy Public Defender.
Vivian Zebrink, Assistant to the Public Defender.
Right, thank you all. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the board meeting of the Commission of July 8th, 2020. You've had a chance to review the minutes. Are there any edits or suggested changes?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and there were no suggested edits or changes. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. Unanimously approved. The second item on the agenda is the reappointment of Commissioner Stephen P. Gooden, effective July 21st, 2020 to a 4-year term. And you got a copy of the entry by the Common Pleas judges appointing him. Congratulations on your next 4-year term. Do we have to take any action on that, do you think? We don't have to approve it or anything. It's already been done. It's a done deal.
We checked in with Court Administrator Pat Dressing, and Pat assured us that Commissioner Gooden was going to be reappointed to a 4-year term.
Okay, so I'm glad you checked up on that, so you keep track of all of us and when our terms expire. Thanks, Jack. To the reports.
The staffing and vacancy report that was included in your packet since our last board meeting.
Just a little bit, will you? And
all right. Since our last board meeting, the most activity has occurred in our Guardian division. As you can see, we have 2 new hires. Allie will be starting with us on Monday the 24th, and Danita will be starting with us Monday the 31st. And as you can see, we've had 5 resignations since our last board meeting. Those have related to employees moving on to new career opportunities or moving for family reasons, relocating. So those are the 5 resignations. So in summary, it leaves us with a total of 8 vacancies for the department. We have posted those job openings, and our division managers are currently reviewing resumes and applications for those vacancies this month. So if there's any questions on the staffing report.
No, thank you.
Then we move on to the assigned counsel caseload and payment report through the end of July. And the activity is pretty much continued from the previous month, in that the only increase that we've seen in assigned counsel payments is in the homicide category. That category increased by 18%. But overall, we've had a reduction in payments, reduction compared to last year of $450-some thousand. So our savings continues in the assigned counsel line item, and we expect that trend will begin to straighten out a bit with jury trials and beginning to pick up next month, and more caseload activity increasing. So that savings is going to be beneficial to us meeting the reduced budget. Then we have the staff attorney assigned cases and clients. And again, the same trends have continued since last month, where we've had a decline when compared to last year of cases, 25% reduction, and clients around 18% when compared to last year. So those trends continue. And as Fresh Starts program's been suspended, no changes to that activity report. Any other questions on those reports or activities?
I'm looking at drug court. How is drug court still doing now?
It's like staff drug court also has had a reduction, and I don't know if there's any follow-up we have there, Kathy, as far as activity with drug court.
You're speaking to me, Miss Kathy.
Yes,
It's my understanding the numbers have been down, but business as usual, court has been up and running. I think it was the delay with the grand jury report date and the lack of indictments from the time that it was told until they were set July 30th impacted drug court just like it did every other common pleas case.
Okay.
There are no other questions. We'll go on to the financial and budget update.
Just wanted to touch base and let the commissioners know that we will meet our current year operating budget target. As you remember, back in February, we were reduced by the 1.6 million of our operating budget. But given savings that we talked about, not only in assigned counsel, but other line items such as expert services, court reporters, transcripts, and other items, we're easily going to meet that budget reduction and actually finish the year with a significant savings. So more to come on that as we get towards the final quarter of the year, but we'll keep you informed of the final savings.
Jack, has there been any discussion of repaying employees the non-compensation?
We haven't really discussed specifically at that. I mean, we could entertain that opportunity because, again, there will be savings to do so. I'll remind the commissioners that we did have around an average 4.5% salary increase across the board for all staff back in January when the 2020 budget was passed. So that is an item we can, consider for those 6 days of furlough that we incurred for 6 pay periods prior. Each employee lost 1 day of pay out of a pay period. Then the other item there, item B, we have been asked to begin to work on our 2021 operating budget request. And for your approval, we've included the 2021 requests to review. These items, we ask each division director to prepare and submit items, positions that they felt they were requesting for next year. And we included in the packet a brief description of those items and their impact on the budget. And just to briefly go over those increases or requests, again, we're asking for pay parity going into 2021 of estimated to be 5%. A final figure will be worked out once we get into next year as to what the prosecutor levels and JFS, Job and Family Services position salaries will be so that we can maintain parity. Item number 2 was the assigned counsel rate increase. As you recall, this past year, we were given an increase from to $60 an hour. And this was basically part 1 of a 2-part increase to get our standard to $75 an hour, which would be in concert with the state public defender's rates for both in-court and out-of-court rates. So we've put that on the request listing as well. And Item 3 is the juvenile division request to take our mitigation client relations specialist position, move it from the grant to our general fund. The success of this position with productivity for our juvenile clients has been tremendous. Ally Hathaway presented a good case to move this position from the grant. Once that grant expires, we'll keep that position permanently. And she presented, like I said, a very good justification to the county budget office in support of that position. John Kennedy is requesting a staff felony attorney, and he also presented a good statistics as far as the benefit of adding a staff felony attorney to help with the caseload, given that our panel attorneys have been reduced somewhat, and we'll get some productivity there to assist with quality representation for our felony clients. And then finally, the Guardian Division wants to restore their GAL supervisor. We've had that position on the books, but due to caseload during this past year, when that position was vacated, we decided to fill it with a line GAL individual rather than another supervisor. So within next year's budget, we want to fill the supervisory role in that division. So what we're asking the commission today is support those budget requests for 2021. As you recall, this year we were successful in securing 5 positions this past year, and we also did receive some pay parity and the increase from $50 to $60 in assigned counsel. So given the fact the state will continue the reimbursement rate either at 85 or 70%, the cost to the county is significantly less to the general fund for these requests. So any questions regarding?
Yeah, do you have a dollar figure assigned to the package considering
Yes,
reimbursement?
on the last page, we summarized the request. So the grand total would be 1.6 million for the 2021 request, 1.6. And then after the reimbursement rate, even if it's reduced to 70%, the net would be 500 some thousand. So we feel that's a reasonable request going forward, given that the state public defender is supporting those requests, and we'll keep that reimbursement rate at least at 70%.
Okay. And his administration is saying their tax revenue is a little bit better than they anticipated?
A little bit better than anticipated. That's a good question. And they also have asked departments to prepare the 2021 budgets with this continuation kind of goal to continue the budget at the same levels. However, we're not like other county departments in that we generate reimbursement. So our impact on the general fund is not the same as other county departments. So we feel it's important to get our requests in, given the revenue impact that we support the county.
Good. Thanks for your work on that. I know that you've probably already made a good case for our requests.
Yeah, I think both John Kennedy and Ally Hathaway responded to the budget office directly on some clarification, and they really did a fine job in justification on their needs. So we should be in good shape.
Great. Questions? Commissioners?
No. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Ray, Public Defender report and comments?
The first thing
Will you
we,
take action on that, Jack?
Yes, we really should take a poll to officially get the support of the board on this one, and then I can communicate that to County Administrator Jeff Aludo.
Great. Do I have a motion that we support the request?
I'd so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any no? It's approved unanimously. Item 5 on the agenda is the Public Defender report and comments. Ray?
on Friday, when Jack sent out the agenda, I gave him the jail population figures, and I sent them today's figures out late this morning, early this afternoon. I don't know if you got them or not, but As of August 19th, the jail population was 1,139. Friday, it was 1,120. So that's a lot higher than it was back in April when it was down to 755. I've talked to Sean Vicente and to John Kennedy, and people are not being released OR necessarily as much as they had been. Um, there's more people in the jail than there were before, 3 months ago, whatever it was.
Are they arresting more and citing less?
I sent a letter to Chief Isaacs, the sheriff, and Joe Dieters about that, asking them to remember that they were going to cite or to put OR bonds. And the city solicitor wrote back and just said, well, there's circumstances each time. I mean, I don't know if the people they're arresting have outstanding warrants from other places, or if the police become frustrated if somebody is released and they come back the next night and do the same thing. I can't explain all the reasons for these numbers, but Sean's been a bit frustrated with it. But we push every day in arraignment room for OR release, but it doesn't always happen.
Have you had several different judges in the arraignment room during the period of the increase?
Well, there's the 14-day or 14-week schedule, the rotation. So yeah, they just wrote every 14 weeks with different judges in there. So all we can do is keep pushing. Unless there's more questions, we can move on to bail project. Kathy's got some information on that, but I do want to say we met last week with David Gaspar from Indianapolis with the bail project, and Shamika Parrish-Wright, who's also with the project. David's in Indianapolis, Shamika's in Louisville. They came up here to see the facilities, to make arrangements to get access to the jail and get identification. And now they're in the process of hiring somebody, or interviewing, I believe, to hire somebody who will take over that role here in Hamilton County. Kathy, do you want to talk about it too?
I think you basically covered it. I touched base with Sammy Silverstein. She's been working with the bail project. They had concerns about setting up shop in Cincinnati because of some of the practices or things that the clerk did that they thought were untenable. And I know that we were able to kind of bridge the gap between the bail project and the clerk's office. But I think as soon as they have somebody hired, they'll be up and running. They're going to be considered contractors within the sheriff's department, so they're supposed to get security clearance, and it looks like they are well on their way. They just need to hire somebody, and they should be here.
And will they then have non-lawyer advocates out in the community that they hire?
That is my understanding, and they try to hire people, I believe, that might have some prior personal history within the system. I looked on their website. I didn't see the position listed, and quite frankly, I didn't look at what the qualifications were, but there are comparable positions in other cities listed on their websites.
Kathy, can you help me out again with the details of the bail project? They're a nonprofit, correct? Or no?
That is my belief. They come in and they pre-screen and identify people that they think might be good candidates to have their bail posted for them. And they come to some agreement with those individuals about what that release might look like. If the people are not willing to comply with the terms, then they won't do it. Speaking to Sammy today, I think nationwide they have a 96% success rate. So we're pretty excited about that.
But I mean, help me out as to how that's different than a bail bond. I mean, there's a side agreement. I mean, I'm not trying to argue it. I'm just trying to understand. And they're contracting with the sheriff's office, not with us, right?
They are getting access to the jail as subcontractors, I guess. They're not affiliated with the public defender's office.
Right.
It is like a bail bondsman in that it's a third party posting a bond, but anybody can post a bond in the state of Ohio.
Right.
I think the added layer of conditions that they put on people that they pre-screen is different than a bail bondsman that just wants the money and keeps all the money
Right.
if there's a
Steve, it's
problem.
also, Steve, it's a little bit more than that. What they also,
Wait, Bill, we can't hear you. Wait a minute.
people who are out and coming to court, they'll provide transportation, they'll help with childcare needs. Part of the contracts will also include people engaging in certain behaviors, like if there's a drug issue, the client may sign a contract that seeking evaluation and drug treatment is part of the release plan.
Right.
So they're a lot more involved, I think, with the client than, let's say, a bail bondsman would be, which is one of the reasons why their success rate of appearance in court is so high.
And is the
So there's
finan-
a services aspect sort of to it too.
Oh, yeah, and I think a true client-centered sort of representation almost, right? I mean, they're spending time with the person, getting to know them a little bit and identify risks, as well as continued contact and working with them once they've been out.
and Bill, is the infusion of the funding model an infusion of initial cash to pay for the staff and expenses in the initial bail bonds, and then it replenishes it when the bonds are released?
Right. I mean, yeah, it's a revolving bail fund, and that's part of it. It started in New York, and it's now branched out. Their goal is to open in 40 cities across the nation. They've attracted a lot of funders for it, who have been impressed with their results.
No, it didn't sound like a bad idea. I was just trying to get a handle on if this is some sort of private equity project or if it's a true nonprofit.
No, it's purely all nonprofit, and that's
Okay. Yeah, that was my. This will take some cash to stand up. Is what I was trying to figure out where the money was coming from.
Thank you, Bill.
no problem.
When they were here last week, Sean told me that Tom Sauer with Pretrial Services and Andy Gillen sat in on their meetings with the sheriff, so the court's aware of what they're doing.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any more questions about that, anyone? The next item on the list are the protest cases. The city filed its response. I think it was due Monday, but they might have filed it Friday. Sean sent me a copy yesterday. We have a chance to reply to their memorandum. And Sean said that September 4th, I believe it is when these various cases are set for pretrial conferences. My understanding is some private attorneys have resolved some of their cases, but according to Sean, none of ours have been resolved yet by plea or dismissal, whatever. Some people have taken the dismissal with the release. Others have taken the minor misdemeanor, I guess. But we're waiting to see what kind of rulings we get on our motion to dismiss. That's my understanding of the status.
And how many cases do we have?
It's about 400 is my understanding, the number.
Right. Questions about protest cases?
And these were all curfew cases, correct?
Well, misconduct and emergency.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, misconduct and emergency. Who's the judge? Was it? Did you file them with the presiding municipal judge, or how did they go again? I saw the filing, but it's been a few weeks.
With each judge that had a case.
Got it. That's what I thought.
When we did the issue on the grand jury reports, we filed them in each case, but they weren't assigned to judges yet. So Brad Greenberg was the judge who handled all them. They consolidated all them in front of him, but these now have been rolled to individual judges. So we filed with each judge.
Got it. I'm running those together. Okay, that's got it.
They're all under the name of Sam Heller, if I'm not mistaken, just for simplicity's sake right now. Sam's one of our municipal attorneys.
Right.
Thanks, Ray.
Okay. Kathy, do you want to talk about the diversity recruiting? Or do you want me to take it?
I will let you start with who you've spoken to, and then I'll follow up with the survey information.
Okay, we have 5 positions open, 3 in the Guardian Division. We lost an investigator, we lost a GAL attorney, and we lost a non-attorney GAL. We have one in our municipal division, a trial attorney, and we have one trial attorney in our felony division. And I personally called Melba Marsh last week. We've reached out in any number of ways that we've been doing so to find a broad spectrum of potential applicants. But I personally called Melba Marsh and talked to her for a while. I explained each position to her in case she knew anybody that might be looking. She said she thought she would. I told her what the deadlines were. I don't know if she sent anybody yet or not. Go ahead, Kathy.
So I had mentioned at the last meeting that I was putting together, and I did put together a survey to gauge people's interest in what they thought the issues were and the office's role in a diversity and inclusion committee. So that survey went out and we had 90 people complete it. There were a variety of different issues and opinions about what it should look like. Ray and I also had a conversation with Elizabeth Miller, who's the Assistant Ohio Public Defender, because they already have both Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and then they have employee resource groups. And she sent us a variety of materials and gave us some suggestions that we're going to follow through with. I've had 4 people volunteer to be on the Steering and Formation Committee. They all happen to be attorneys, so I'm hoping to still recruit some non-attorneys to get involved with that. And one of the first things that Elizabeth had encouraged us to do, and we are planning to do, is to hold, obviously remotely, town hall meetings with each division to kind of give them results and get any more input that people might be willing to give or additional thoughts that they've had about what the committee should look like. So I think the 3 biggest goals are still the recruitment and retention. You know, are we giving our staff in whatever, are we giving them what they need, so to speak? And are we doing the right things to attract the right people to our office? Elizabeth also advised us not to bite off more than we could chew. There is a lot of material and a lot of information. So any input, suggestions that anyone has. She also cautioned us to be as transparent as we could be, have the difficult conversations. So we're moving forward.
Let me add a couple more things. I personally talked to Tim Young on July 24th for quite a while. He suggested that Kathy and I talk to Elizabeth Miller because she's been in charge of those type of issues at the Public Defender Office. So we talked to her for a while. I think it was an hour on July 30th. On August the 6th, I talked with Derwin Bunton, who is a well-known public defender in New Orleans. He is also African-American, and I talked to him about some of the issues that we face. I've talked to Mark Stevens. I think I brought that up at the last meeting, and I've also talked to John Rapping from Gideon's Promise. So we've reached out a number of places for some help with these issues. Now it's going to be carrying them out.
Questions from the commissioners at all?
In terms of future hiring rate, is there any consideration to talking about maybe going to hiring classes or maybe some specific hire dates to make it easier to recruit outside of Ohio?
Well, we've talked about that. Sammy definitely would like to do it that way. She said it's easier to train people. The problem might be that we are short then for a while,
Right.
but with the number of people that we've got now, it might well become a class. Well, 3 of them are in the dependency division, but we're going to have possibly 4 new attorneys. And we're also making a change in municipal court. One of our team leaders is out on leave, and we're going to replace him. He knows it because the length of the leave, we need a new team leader. So we could have 4 or 5 new attorneys here in the criminal felony and municipal division pretty soon. We could start them as a class. Sean has talked about that's why it was done in Philadelphia all the time with the number of attorneys they had. They had more attorneys than we have. I'm willing to try it. I mean, we did it the last time, and I know that's what Sammy would like as the training director. She would like to do it that way.
Well, what I'm thinking, and not just for training, but I mean the ability, if you can, hold off in a number of months or know that you have 2 or 3 spots you're going to fill as of, let's say, August 1st of 2022 or 2021 looking forward, you might be able to make an offer, through interviews outside of Ohio, or convince a lawyer from a law school not in Ohio to come to Cincinnati because they'll have time to sign up for the bar here as a new hire. Sort of in the same way an offer was made to Sam Heller, right?
Right, through Gideon's.
I mean, even if it's not Gideon's, I'm just thinking about the ability of our ability to recruit from outside of Ohio.
Well, last year, Sammy went up to several historically black colleges and law schools up in DC area because she's got contacts up there. She's more than willing to do it. We could spread our net wide that way.
Right. But I'm considering about the ability to make those offers, right? Those offers that allow someone who's let's say a third-year law student that you're impressed with, either through a summer internship or others, if they know that they have a spot here pending passage at a bar, you maybe get someone to come to Ohio, but they got to know they have a job.
Right, and the only tricky part is to have a spot open for them. Let's say we do it in the fall, October, November, and start recruiting that way, is making sure we can come through with enough for a class, not just 1 or 2. I think Philadelphia must have been a huge office from the way Sean talks.
Ray, have you ever, I don't know if we would be constricted from a budget standpoint of doing this, but I'm pretty involved in minority attorney recruitment at our law firm. And I know it's a tall order in this market, and getting people, particularly from out of town, to come to this market. Have you ever considered engaging with a headhunter? I mean, sometimes there's some folks who've been out a couple of years who, might be looking for a public a job, even in a law firm. I mean, there's folks. I mean, that's how it's how Dave Singleton started out at a law firm and hated it. He'll tell you. And obviously went a somewhat different path in the nonprofit world, but. Sometimes being able to tap into those networks. I mean, there are people out there. I mean, they charge money, but I mean, if you're serious about recruitment, I mean, it is a thought.
Honestly, no, because I would have suspected that, there's going to be a fee for that, and can we justify it? But it's a limited pool. Sammy's pretty talented in reaching out. I'd probably prefer for a year or 2 to try it through her and see what we can do. There's one attorney of color who left our office a couple years ago for a private position. I hear is leaving that private position, and I don't know if he might want to come back here or not. But we're going to keep looking. But I know Melba has expressed disappointment in our office in the past, but that's why I particularly wanted to reach out to her to see if she knows anybody or has connections that we don't have. But we've got it on our website. We've got them on the county website, and we've gone through the Black Lawyers Association of Cincinnati. We'll reach out wherever we can.
So have you tried Jim Johnson and Cheryl Grant too? I mean, they have good connections.
Right.
Yeah. Any questions on that? How about jury trial resumption?
This is the 3rd week that they started. I'm looking at my calendar. It was August the 3rd. The initial goal was to start in July, but Judge Kubicki called us. In fact, we made a public statement that wasn't going to work, but we started on July 3rd, and no felonies went to trial, but Danielle Colliver from our office tried an OVI with Judge Kissinger up on the 3rd floor, and I went up and watched. I called Judge Kubicki after the first day and said it went pretty well. No, I'll take it back. I went the second day. They were able to seat a jury. They voir dired alternates. They had the plexiglass set up. People were properly distanced. it worked fairly well because the defendant was not locked up. If the defendant had been incarcerated and you'd had to have the security, the guards there, it would have been pretty tight. I was pretty much the only person in the audience watching. Judge Callan came in one time, but she didn't stay real long. I had a suggestion that they either need to do sidebar conferences in chambers or they need a white noise, like Judge Rubin used to use in federal court all the time, because the attorneys are distant from the judge, and so they had to speak louder, and everybody in the courtroom's trying to hear what they're saying, even though they're not supposed to. But that case went to trial. Danielle lost. The next week, Craig Teepin from our office had a misdemeanor case that he tried, and he won. He got an acquittal. That was Judge Russell, if I'm not mistaken. And Sean told me this week, Allie Cox from our municipal division is trying a misdemeanor with Judge Kissinger. And he said that the judge really liked it because what he did was got a magistrate to take his municipal court docket, and he got started at 9 o'clock. They were going to wrap it up, I think, today, if not late yesterday, which a lot of other counties try cases when they've got a jury. That's the only case that goes that day. And it would be harder for a felony to get a magistrate to cover a judge's docket, but in municipal court, they can do that pretty easily. So I don't know if that'll get more cases tried or resolved or not, but our people have been involved in the first 3 weeks, the first 3 trials. And the jurors, I watched some part of that selection. Nobody seemed too concerned about COVID. And I said that the age group, it was spread out. Most of the people appeared to be in about their 40s. But there were no problems that I was aware of with the cases. So that's all I have on that.
Ray, one quick question. Do you know, were there potential jurors who said they didn't want to be there just due to their health concerns?
I don't know. Brad Seitz, the jury commissioner, would know that. If anybody expressed a concern about it, they were going to be let go. Nobody was going to force the issue. I think that's what Judge Kubicki told them. And I don't think they're even forcing them to bring a note in. It's like, how are you going to enforce it? If they're concerned and don't want to be there, fine. They don't have to be.
Right. Okay.
Item 6 is possible public statement. I resent to you the short version. Let's have a discussion.
Yeah, Kathy? For some reason, it's hard for me to hear you. I don't know if everybody else is having trouble or not.
Same problem.
Get closer.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Same problem.
Same problem. I sent a copy of a short version of a possible statement and a longer version to everybody today. I had sent those previously. But I think the first matter is, do we have a consensus that we should issue some kind of a statement supporting our staff for the extraordinary work they've done during the COVID pandemic?
I'm in favor of it.
I would second that.
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. Having looked at both the short version and the long version, which has a list of bullet points, more specific things in it, do you have a preference for the long or the short? And do you have any suggested changes in it? Keep in mind that I wrote this almost a month ago, and it reflects back. Do we need to update it in any fashion?
I'm absolutely fine with the shorter version. I mean, if the will is to go with the longer version, I mean, I guess I could be persuaded, but I think the short version keeps the focus on our lawyers. I know folks did, a lot of the staff lawyers, put in incredible extra efforts. And I think, like I said in the last couple meetings, I've heard nothing but positive feedback about their professionalism and their client focus. So, you know, I think it's more than appropriate to put something out and on that, in that regard. So I'm fine with that.
I can tell you that the Inquirer's guidance for opinions is 550 to 560 words.
Right.
The short one is 551. The longer one is 692, although I have written opinion pieces as long as 800 words that have gotten
Right.
print. Victor, Bill?
I like seeing those bullet points of accomplishments in there, but, and the changes that they're, you know, they're needed.
Yeah.
So is your preference for the longer one, or,
For me, it is.
okay? Victor?
I don't have a preference.
Yeah.
I kind of
Kathy,
like,
my only suggestion, frankly, from an editing standpoint, and I don't have any precise language, but I wasn't sure, again, what it was going to be used for. If you're going to submit it to the Inquirer, having, you know, dealt with those submissions, and I know you have too, we might want to do something a little more. It kind of reads a little bit like a proclamation, you know what I mean? We might want to kind of punch up the intro a little bit.
Mhm.
You know, maybe kind of a little bit of an introductory paragraph to just, you know, that's a little more,
yeah.
I
Don't
guess,
bury the-
sweeping. Yeah, like, hey, you know, in the midst of the pandemic and civil unrest and unique things, you know, these folks have really, you know, really stepped up, you know, something maybe a little more
Yeah, it was originally
colloquial, you know what I mean?
resolution. You're right,
Yeah.
it's resolution.
Yeah, I would kind of, if it's a word, columnize it, make it more like a column a little bit.
Okay, I sent you one of the, John Delaney made a suggestion to add at the end, but it also could be put at the beginning. If you'll take a look at what I sent you today.
No, I didn't see, I've been running around all day. Here, let me pull it up.
Let me look at it here.
His comment is, what do you think about it? I mean, something along the lines of, quote, "The commissioners want to acknowledge and support all members of the community working peacefully to achieve equal justice and treatment for all regardless of race, gender, or orientation.
Yeah.
We look forward to being part of the reforms aimed at achieving these goals." End quote.
One thing is this sort of encapsulates the individual that we have in the long version. But I can punch it up too and just share it with you before I send it. Can I put all our names on it once I get John's okay?
Well, yeah. I just like to see it again before it goes out. I'm not trying to be overly difficult. I mean, you know, to me, it's like, you know, there's a basic philosophical question of our role, you know, and I'm not, you know, I just see it, you know, the focus to me has always been, you know, clients first and then use of taxpayer dollars second. You know, we're not elected, and I never really saw us as having much of a big policy or advocacy role, you know, here. You know, we're here to provide these services, but I do want to acknowledge the work that our folks are doing. And I do think, you know, you know, like I said, I know there's a number of folks in the office that are, you know, are politically active, and that's great and fine and appropriate, I guess. But you know, as a body, I think, you know, our focus ought to be more on how we manage the services we provide. I mean, at the end of the day, we are a taxpayer-funded, appointed, non-elected body, you know, supervising, you know, non-elected employees. So, you know, I don't want to get too far afield and, you know, hot button public policy issues. I think the way, you know, the list, I mean, I guess is fine too. And, you know, I really do want to keep the focus on our lawyers, who I think did a really nice job on this under tough circumstances.
I'll punch up the beginning like you suggest, share it with everybody and get their okay before I do anything about.
I think that's fine.
Ready?
That's fine.
All right, I will do that. The last item on the agenda, I think, after that discussion is next commission meeting date.
The question would be, when do you want to meet? Historically, after the August meeting, the November meeting would be next, unless you want to meet sooner, whatever you want.
Well, I think the pandemic's going to continue to have an impact. I would say not wait till November, maybe October. What do you think, members?
October's fine.
That's fine.
Okay. October 19th. It's a Monday.
That works.
That works for me.
Yeah, I was just checking. That's fine.
Okay. All right, October the 19th at 3. I'm gonna let John know about that. The next item is executive session for personnel matters. We'll need a motion to go into executive session, and we should make the announcement. May I say that we don't anticipate any action to be taken after the executive session, so that anybody who is watching virtually will only miss us adjourning the meeting if they don't stay through till the end of the executive session.
Ms. Brinkman, the only other issue would be to see if anyone has submitted anything or has a question through the
Okay.
chat. I haven't seen any so far, but if anyone is going to submit one, they need to do it right away.
Yeah, it doesn't show up on my chat button as anybody have submitted anybody, so,
No, I've not seen any questions.
okay. All right, I think we can conclude that none have been or will be submitted. And is it fair to make that public announcement that we will not be taking any action afterwards?
Well, Kathy, it sounds like you're basically telling everyone to turn it off, and I don't know that that's appropriate. I'd just rather we go into executive session and leave it that way.
Well, the Zoom is still running. Dave Harvey has to turn off the YouTube because the public can't take part in the executive session.
Right. I think that's correct, but I'm saying,
You got,
I think it's,
and then turn it back on? Will that work, Ray?
we do have to be on the record to adjourn though, afterwards, right?
You do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I just move we go into executive session.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, it's gotta be, I think it's an
Yeah.
individual roll call, right?
Kathy Brinkman, aye.
Bill Gallagher, aye.
Victor Walton, aye.
Steve Good and I.
All right, then I'm going to shut off the live streaming.
Having voted unanimously by roll call vote to come out of executive session, we're now back in the public session. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye by your name. Brinkman, aye.
Walton, aye.
Gallagher, aye.
The meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.